It was just another Tuesday afternoon, and I found myself hunched over my laptop at the local coffee shop, the familiar hum of espresso machines and low chatter wrapping around me like a warm blanket. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweet scent of pastries, creating a cozy atmosphere that usually helped me focus. But today, my mind was elsewhere, drifting like a leaf caught in a gentle breeze that I had recently moved into a new apartment, a charming little place with creaky floorboards and windows that let in just the right amount of light. It was perfect for someone like me, someone who craved solitude but also longed for connection. As I sipped my caramel macchiato, I couldn't shake the feeling of restlessness that had settled in my chest. My job as a freelance graphic designer kept me busy, yet it often left me feeling isolated. My friends were all caught up in their own lives, and I found myself yearning for something, or someone, to pull me out of this mundane routine. That's when she walked in. Her entrance was subtle yet striking. The bell above the door jingled softly as she pushed it open, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. She had an effortless grace about her, with dark hair that fell in soft waves around her shoulders and captivating green eyes that sparkled with mischief. I couldn't help but notice how she wore her denim jacket like armor, paired with a simple white tee and black jeans that hugged her figure just right. There was something magnetic about her presence that made it hard to look away. As she approached the counter, I caught snippets of her laughter mingling with the barista's banter. It was warm and inviting, a sound that sent a thrill through me. I felt an inexplicable pull towards her, as if she were a lighthouse guiding me through my foggy thoughts. I quickly glanced down at my laptop screen, pretending to be engrossed in work while stealing glances at her from the corner of my eye. Moments later, she turned around and our eyes met for an instant, just long enough for my heart to skip a beat. There was a flicker of recognition in her gaze, as if she could sense the longing bubbling beneath my surface. I quickly looked away, my cheeks flushing with warmth. "Is this seat taken?" she asked, her voice smooth like honey as she gestured to the empty chair across from me. I shook my head, barely able to form words as she settled into the chair with an ease that made it seem like we had known each other forever. "I'm Mia," she introduced herself, extending a hand across the table. "Lena," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the fluttering in my stomach. As we exchanged pleasantries, I learned that Mia had just moved into the apartment building across from mine, a serendipitous twist of fate that sent my heart racing. We talked about our favorite coffee blends and shared stories about our lives. Each laugh felt like a thread weaving us closer together, yet there was an underlying tension simmering just beneath the surface. But as much as I enjoyed our conversation, there was something else lurking in my mind, a nagging thought about how fleeting moments like these could be. My heart was torn between wanting to dive deeper into this connection and fearing the vulnerability that came with it. What if this was just another passing encounter? What if I opened up only to be left alone again? As we spoke about our favorite movies and music, I could see glimpses of her personality shining through, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her passion for photography or how she bit her lip when she was deep in thought. Each detail drew me in further, igniting a spark of hope within me. But then Mia leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms over her chest as if bracing herself for something more serious. "So," she began slowly, "what's your story? What brings you to this little corner of the world?" The question hung in the air between us like an unspoken challenge. It felt both thrilling and terrifying to consider sharing my truth with someone who seemed so effortlessly captivating. But there was also an undeniable sense of urgency. Something told me that this moment could change everything. As I took a deep breath to gather my thoughts, I realized that perhaps it was time to let go of my fears, if only for this fleeting afternoon, and embrace whatever connection lay ahead. As our conversation flowed, the coffee shop buzzed around us, but it felt like we were in our own little world. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow on Mia's face, highlighting the freckles that danced across her cheeks. I couldn't help but admire how alive she seemed, how each word she spoke held a weight that resonated deep within me. After a while, the chatter of the cafe faded into the background, and it was just us, two souls sharing stories over steaming cups of coffee. I told her about my move to the city, how I had left behind the familiarity of my small town in search of something more vibrant, something that would ignite my creativity. She listened intently, her green eyes never leaving mine, and for a moment, I felt seen in a way I hadn't experienced in years. Then it happened, a moment so small yet so profound that it felt like the universe had conspired to bring us together. As I animatedly described my favorite hiking trails, my hands moved expressively, and one of them brushed against hers on the table. It was just a fleeting touch, but electricity surged through me at that contact. I froze for a heartbeat, my breath hitching as I looked down at our hands. Mia's fingers lingered for a second longer than necessary before she pulled away, her cheeks tinged with a hint of pink. "Sorry," I stammered, my heart racing. "I didn't mean to." "No, it's okay," she interrupted softly, her voice barely above a whisper. It was nice. The air between us thickened with unspoken words and possibilities. I could feel the tension crackling like static electricity, and for the first time in a long while, hope flickered within me, a hope that perhaps this connection could lead somewhere deeper, but just as quickly as that spark ignited, it dimmed under the weight of reality. My mind raced with questions. What did this mean? Was I ready to explore something more with someone who seemed so perfect? The thought of vulnerability sent shivers down my spine. I had been hurt before. Opening myself up again felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Before I could dwell too long on my fears, Mia leaned forward slightly, her expression shifting to something more serious. "You know," she said quietly, "I've been feeling a bit lost lately too." Her admission hung in the air like an invitation for me to share my own struggles. "What do you mean?" I asked gently. She sighed and ran a hand through her hair, her gaze drifting to the window where passers-by moved about their day without a care in the world. "I just moved here for a fresh start," she confessed. "But sometimes it feels like I'm running away from something rather than towards anything." My heart raced at her vulnerability, it mirrored my own feelings of uncertainty. "I get that," I replied cautiously. "I thought moving here would change everything for me too." Mia turned back to me, her eyes searching mine as if trying to gauge my sincerity. "What are you running from?" she asked softly, the question pierced through me like an arrow. It was one thing to share surface-level details about my life, it was another entirely to confront the deeper truths lurking beneath. My mind flashed back to past relationships, heartbreaks that left scars and insecurities that whispered doubts into my ear. But as I looked into Mia's eyes, something shifted within me. There was warmth there, a promise of understanding, I guess. "I'm running from loneliness," I admitted finally, my voice trembling slightly. "I thought if I changed everything about my life, my job, my city, it would fill this void inside me." Mia nodded slowly as if she understood all too well what it felt like to chase after something elusive. "Sometimes we think changing our surroundings will change how we feel inside," she said thoughtfully. "But it's not always that simple." Her words resonated deeply within me, they echoed my own fears and desires. In that moment of shared vulnerability, our connection deepened even further. It was as if we were peeling back layers of ourselves, revealing raw emotions and unguarded truths that made us feel both exposed and safe at the same time. Just then, an unexpected commotion erupted at the cafe entrance as a group of rowdy college students burst in, laughing loudly and causing quite a scene. The sudden noise jolted us back to reality, breaking our intimate moment like glass shattering on concrete. Mia chuckled softly at their antics but then glanced back at me with an expression that held promise and uncertainty all at once. "Want to escape this madness?" she suggested playfully. "Absolutely," I replied without hesitation that we gathered our things and stepped outside into the crisp afternoon air. The sun had dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows on the pavement as we wandered aimlessly down the street. With each step away from the coffee shop, I felt lighter, as if shedding some invisible weight that had clung to me for far too long. That we found ourselves at a nearby park where cherry blossom trees bloomed vibrantly against the backdrop of an azure sky. The petals danced in the wind like confetti celebrating our newfound connection. We settled onto a bench beneath one of those trees, surrounded by nature's beauty, a perfect setting for two souls seeking solace in each other's company. As we sat side by side, our shoulders brushing against one another, Mia turned to me with an earnest look in her eyes. "Lena," she said softly, "can I ask you something?" Of course, I replied cautiously. Do you believe in love at first sight? Her question caught me off guard. It felt both innocent and loaded with implications. My heart raced as I considered how much weight lay behind those words, the possibility of love blooming amidst our shared vulnerabilities and uncertainties. I don't know, I admitted honestly after a moment's thought. I think love is more complicated than that, but maybe there's something about connection, something deeper, that can happen instantly. Mia smiled softly at my response. There was understanding there, a recognition of our shared hesitations and hopes for what could be. Just then, a gust of wind swept through the park, sending petals swirling around us like delicate whispers of fate. In that fleeting moment, amidst laughter echoing from nearby children playing and birds chirping overhead, I felt an undeniable pull towards Mia, a magnetic force drawing us closer together despite our fears, but lurking beneath this blossoming connection was an undercurrent of conflict brewing within me. The realization that pursuing anything deeper with Mia might mean confronting parts of myself I'd long buried beneath layers of self-protection and fear. As we continued talking about everything and nothing under those cherry blossom trees, the world around us faded away once again, leaving only us suspended in time with hearts racing toward an uncertain future filled with both promise and trepidation. As the days turned into weeks, Mia and I fell into a rhythm that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Our encounters became a cherished routine, each moment layered with laughter, shared secrets, and the intoxicating thrill of new love. We explored the city together, wandering through art galleries and hidden cafes, discovering our favorite spots like two explorers charting unknown territory. One afternoon, we found ourselves at an open-air market bustling with life. The air was rich with the scent of spices and freshly baked bread, mingling with the sweet aroma of flowers from nearby stalls. As we strolled hand in hand, I reveled in the warmth of her touch. The way her fingers intertwined with mine felt like a promise, a connection that anchored me amidst the chaos of my thoughts. Look at those! Mia exclaimed, pointing to a vibrant display of colorful scarves fluttering in the breeze. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she tugged me toward the stall. I couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. It was infectious. Which one do you like? I asked, watching her sift through the fabrics. She held up a deep emerald green scarf against her face, and I felt my breath catch at how stunning she looked. The color complemented her eyes perfectly, making them seem even more vivid. What do you think? She asked playfully, tilting her head as if posing for a photo. It's beautiful, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. But you make it look even better. Mia's cheeks flushed a delicate shade of pink as she grinned at my compliment. It was moments like these that made my heart race, her laughter ringing like music in my ears and the way she seemed to glow when she was happy. Yet beneath that joy lay an undercurrent of uncertainty within me, an internal struggle that threatened to overshadow our blossoming connection. As we continued to explore the market, our conversations flowed effortlessly. We shared stories about our childhoods. Mia's tales of camping trips with her family contrasted sharply with my memories of quiet nights spent reading alone in my room. We laughed over our mutual love for cheesy rom-coms and debated which actress would play us in a movie about our lives, but even amidst the laughter, I felt the weight of my fears creeping back in. With every shared moment, I found myself grappling with feelings of guilt and vulnerability. What if I opened up too much? What if I let her in only to be hurt again? The thought gnawed at me like a persistent itch I couldn't scratch. One evening, as we sat on the rooftop of my apartment building watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, Mia turned to me with an earnest expression. Lena, she began softly, can I ask you something? My heart raced at her tone. There was something serious brewing beneath her playful exterior. Of course, I replied cautiously. Why do you always hold back? She asked gently, searching my eyes for answers. I feel like there's so much more you want to say. Her words struck a chord deep within me. It was true, I had been holding back, afraid to reveal too much of myself for fear of rejection or judgment. I guess I'm just scared, I admitted finally, my voice trembling slightly. I've been hurt before, and it's hard to let someone in. Mia nodded slowly, her gaze unwavering as she processed my admission. I get that, she said softly. But you don't have to be afraid with me. The sincerity in her voice sent a shiver down my spine. It was an invitation wrapped in warmth, a promise that perhaps this time could be different. But still, hesitation lingered in my heart like a shadow refusing to fade. I want to be open with you, I confessed, feeling vulnerable yet hopeful all at once. But it's hard for me. Mia reached out and took my hand in hers, her touch grounding me amidst my swirling emotions. We can take it slow, she offered gently. There's no rush. As we sat there under the fading light of day, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over me, a realization that maybe this connection was worth exploring despite my fears that in the days that followed, we continued to build our relationship through shared experiences that deepened our bond. We spent lazy afternoons painting together in the park, Mia's laughter echoing as she teased me about my lack of artistic skills while splashes of color adorned our canvases. One rainy Saturday afternoon found us huddled together on my couch wrapped in blankets and sipping hot cocoa while binge-watching our favorite shows. The sound of raindrops tapping against the window created a cozy backdrop for our laughter and whispered conversations. Okay, Mia said suddenly during one particularly dramatic scene on screen, if you had to choose between saving your favorite character or your best friend from certain doom, who would it be? I laughed at her absurd hypothetical scenario but felt a flicker of seriousness beneath it all. That's easy, I replied playfully. I'd save you first. Her eyes widened in surprise before narrowing playfully as she leaned closer to me. Oh really? You'd save me over your favorite character? Absolutely, I said without hesitation, feeling boldness surge within me as our faces hovered inches apart. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stand still, the air thickening with unspoken tension as we locked eyes. My pulse quickened as I fought against the urge to close that distance between us, to bridge the gap that had begun to feel unbearable, but just then, Mia pulled back slightly as if sensing my hesitation, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her features before she broke into a teasing smile again. You just want me around for all those rom-coms we watched together. Maybe, I replied with a laugh that masked my inner turmoil, yet even as we resumed our banter and laughter filled the room once more, I couldn't shake off the lingering tension between us, the unresolved feelings that simmered just beneath the surface like an unlit flame waiting for a spark. That weeks passed into months filled with stolen glances and lingering touches, each moment weighed down by both joy and fear. I found myself standing at a crossroads within my heart. Should I dive deeper into this connection or continue holding back out of fear? One evening after another wonderful day spent together exploring art exhibits downtown, where we marveled at vibrant canvases splashed with color, I invited Mia up to my apartment for dinner. As we prepared pasta together, a simple meal filled with laughter as flour dusted our noses, I felt an overwhelming sense of comfort enveloping us both. It was as if we were creating something beautiful not just on our plates but within each other's hearts. 2. After dinner, while cleaning up together, her hands brushing against mine occasionally, I felt an undeniable urge rising within me, a desire to break free from the chains holding me back from fully embracing what we had built together. Mia, I began hesitantly as we stood side by side at the sink washing dishes together under soft golden light spilling from above us. Yes. She replied curiously while glancing over at me expectantly. There was warmth radiating from her gaze, a safe harbor amidst my swirling doubts. I want to talk about us, I said finally, my heart racing faster than ever before as vulnerability washed over me like waves crashing against rocks on a stormy shore. Her expression shifted slightly, curiosity mixed with something deeper, as if she sensed how important this moment was for both of us. Okay, Mia replied softly, there was no judgment or pressure. Just an openness that made it easier for me to continue speaking from my heart. I care about you so much, I confessed quietly, my voice trembling slightly as emotions surged within me like tides pulling at shorelines, and yet fear still lingered beneath those words like shadows waiting to pounce on any sign of weakness. But the hesitation hung heavy between us. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff looking down into unknown waters below, wondering whether jumping would lead to freedom or despair. But what? Mia urged gently, her eyes searching mine for answers, as if willing me to share everything weighing down on my heart. But what if it doesn't work out? The words tumbled out before I could stop them, They echoed through space filled only by soft sounds around us, the clinking dishes now forgotten as tension thickened around us both like fog rolling in from distant shores. Mia took a step closer, closing that gap between us until there were no barriers left separating two hearts beating wildly against their cages, and looked deep into my eyes. A mixture of understanding and determination shining brightly within hers. "Lena," she said firmly yet tenderly, her voice steadying me amidst chaos swirling inside, "I can't promise what tomorrow will bring, but what I do know is that right now feels real." And just like that, the walls I'd built around myself began crumbling away piece by piece until all that remained were raw emotions laid bare before each other, a beautiful mess waiting patiently for resolution amidst uncertainty lingering just beyond reach. The evening air was thick with anticipation as Mia and I stood together in my small kitchen, the remnants of dinner still scattered about. The soft glow of the overhead lights cast a warm halo around us, creating an intimate cocoon that felt like it belonged to just the two of us. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us, a palpable tension that had been building for weeks. After our earlier conversation, where I had let my fears spill out into the open, there was a shift between us, a delicate balance of hope and uncertainty. I had shared my feelings, and now it was Mia's turn to respond. The air crackled with unspoken words, and I could sense that we were on the precipice of something monumental. "Lena," she began softly, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "I've been thinking about what you said earlier, about how you care about me." She took a step closer, her gaze unwavering as she searched my eyes for understanding. "I care about you too, more than I thought possible." My heart raced at her admission, a rush of warmth flooding through me. "You do?" I whispered, barely able to contain the hope that surged within me. "Absolutely," she replied, her voice softening as she reached out to tuck a stray strand of hair behind my ear. The gentle touch sent shivers down my spine, igniting a fire within me that had been smoldering for far too long. As our eyes locked, time seemed to stand still. The world outside faded away, all that mattered was this moment and the connection we shared. I could feel the gravity of her presence pulling me closer, urging me to take that final step into the unknown. "What are we doing?" I asked suddenly, my voice trembling with both excitement and fear. "I mean, where is this going?" Mia took a deep breath, her expression shifting from uncertainty to determination. "I don't know exactly," she admitted honestly. "But I do know that I want to explore this, whatever this is, together." Her words hung in the air between us like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. My heart pounded in my chest as I contemplated the implications of what we were saying. The thought of fully opening myself up to her terrified me, yet there was an undeniable pull urging me forward. "I want that too," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. "But it's so scary." "I know," she replied gently, stepping even closer until our bodies were almost touching. "But sometimes the scariest things are also the most worth it." In that moment, everything else faded away, the doubts, the fears, the past hurts, and all that remained was the electric tension crackling between us. It felt like we were standing on a tightrope stretched high above an abyss. One misstep could send us tumbling into uncertainty, but the reward on the other side was worth every risk. Mia leaned in slightly, her breath warm against my skin as she whispered, "Can I kiss you?" The question hung in the air like a spellbinding incantation. My heart raced at her words, they felt both thrilling and terrifying all at once. In that instant, every doubt and fear collided within me, a whirlwind of emotions swirling around until clarity broke through. "Yes," I breathed out before I could second-guess myself. Her lips met mine softly at first, a tentative brush that sent shockwaves through my entire being. It was as if every moment we had shared led up to this one kiss, a culmination of laughter and vulnerability wrapped in warmth and longing. As our lips moved together, exploring each other with growing urgency, everything else faded away, the dishes piled high in the sink, the world outside bustling with life, until it was just us lost in this moment of connection and passion. Mia's hands found their way to my waist, pulling me closer until there was no space left between us. The kiss deepened as our bodies pressed together, her warmth enveloping me like a protective shield against all my fears. It felt like coming home after being lost for so long, a sense of belonging that ignited something deep within me. But just as quickly as it began, Mia pulled back slightly, her breath coming in soft pants as she searched my eyes for reassurance. "Wow," she murmured, her cheeks flushed with color. "Wow," I echoed breathlessly, still reeling from the intensity of what had just happened between us. Yet even amidst our shared exhilaration lay an undercurrent of unresolved tension, the weight of what this kiss meant lingering heavily in the air between us. Would this change everything? Would we be able to navigate whatever came next? Mia's expression shifted from joy to something more serious, a flicker of concern crossing her features as she took a step back, breaking our connection just enough for reality to seep back in. "Lena," she said softly, her voice tinged with hesitation. "What does this mean for us?" The question hung heavy in the air, a reminder that while we had crossed a boundary together, there were still so many uncertainties ahead. My heart raced at the thought. Part of me wanted to dive headfirst into whatever came next while another part held back out of fear. "I don't know," I admitted honestly, my voice trembling slightly as vulnerability washed over me once again. "I want this, whatever this is, but I'm scared." Mia nodded slowly, there was understanding in her gaze, a recognition of our shared fears and hopes intertwined like vines growing toward sunlight amidst darkness. "We'll figure it out together," she promised softly, her voice steadying me amidst chaos swirling inside once more. As we stood there, two hearts racing beneath layers of uncertainty, I felt both exhilarated and terrified by what lay ahead, yet somehow knowing that whatever came next would be worth every risk taken in pursuit of love. Blooming amidst vulnerability and passion lingering just beyond reach, the days following that electrifying kiss were a whirlwind of emotions, an intoxicating blend of joy and anxiety that left me both exhilarated and unsettled. Mia and I slipped into a deeper intimacy, our connection blossoming like the flowers in spring, vibrant and full of life. Yet beneath that surface lay an undercurrent of tension, a nagging fear that threatened to unravel everything we had built. Every time I saw Mia, my heart soared. We spent evenings wrapped in each other's arms, sharing whispered secrets and dreams under the stars. Our laughter echoed through the quiet streets as we strolled hand in hand, but with each passing moment, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me like a heavy fog that I couldn't shake, the feeling that I was living a double life. My friends and family had no idea about Mia. To them, I was still the same Lena, focused on work, navigating life alone. But with Mia, I was someone else entirely, vulnerable yet brave, open yet terrified. The dichotomy of my existence began to gnaw at me, creating a rift between who I was and who I wanted to be. One evening, as we sat together on my couch watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, Mia turned to me with a serious expression. "Lena," she said softly, "I've been thinking." My stomach twisted at her tone, it was the kind of seriousness that hinted at something deeper. "What is it?" I asked cautiously. "I know things have been amazing between us," she began, her eyes searching mine for reassurance. "But I can't help but feel like we're living in a bubble. What happens when we step outside of it?" Her words struck a chord deep within me. It was true, we had created this beautiful world together, but reality loomed just outside our door like an unwanted guest. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I want to be with you, but I'm scared." "Scared of what?" she pressed gently. "Of everything," I confessed, my heart racing as I laid bare my fears. "Of what people will think, of how my life will change, of losing you." Mia's expression softened as she reached for my hand, intertwining our fingers. "I don't want to lose you either," she said earnestly. "But we need to figure out how to navigate this together." A whisper. "I want to be with you, but I'm scared." "Scared of what?" she pressed gently. "Of everything," I confessed, my heart racing as I laid bare my fears. "Of what people will think, of how my life will change, of losing you." Mia's expression softened as she reached for my hand, intertwining our fingers. "I don't want to lose you either," she said earnestly. "But we need to figure out how to navigate this together." Just then, my phone buzzed on the coffee table, a message from my best friend, Sarah. My heart sank as I glanced at it. She was asking if we could meet up soon. Sarah had always been protective of me, sensing when something was off in my life. The thought of revealing anything about Mia felt like standing on the edge of a cliff once more. "I'll text her back later," I said quickly, trying to push down the rising anxiety. Mia watched me closely, her brow furrowing slightly. "You can talk to her about us if you want," she suggested gently. "No," I replied too quickly, shaking my head vehemently. "I can't." "Why not?" she pressed softly. Because if I tell her about you, then it makes it real," I admitted, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "And right now, this feels like a dream, a beautiful dream that I'm terrified will shatter." Mia's gaze softened as she brushed her thumb across my knuckles soothingly. "Lena," she said gently but firmly, "you deserve to live your truth, whatever that looks like." But as much as I wanted to believe her words, doubt crept in like an unwelcome shadow. What if living my truth meant losing everything else? What if being with Mia meant sacrificing friendships or facing judgment from those closest to me? The following week brought an unexpected turn of events that shook me to my core. One afternoon at work, while I was engrossed in a project deadline, Sarah barged into my office unannounced, her expression a mix of concern and determination. "Lena," she exclaimed breathlessly. "We need to talk." I looked up from my computer screen, startled by her sudden appearance. "What's wrong?" She closed the door behind her and leaned against it as if bracing herself for impact. "I've been hearing things, rumors about you." My heart dropped into my stomach as dread washed over me. "What do you mean?" "People are saying you're seeing someone," she said carefully, her voice low yet urgent. Panic surged through me. How could this be happening? "That's not true," I lied instinctively, my heart racing as fear gripped me tightly. "Lena," Sarah pressed gently but firmly. "You can't keep hiding things from me. If you're in trouble or if someone's hurting you, no one's hurting me." I interrupted sharply, my voice rising slightly before I took a deep breath to steady myself. "I'm fine." Her eyes narrowed slightly as she studied me, searching for cracks in my facade that might reveal the truth hidden beneath layers of self-protection. "Then what is it?" she asked softly, her tone shifting from confrontation to concern. "I just don't want to talk about it right now," I replied finally, my voice trembling with uncertainty as I felt walls closing in around me. Sarah stepped forward, her expression softening as she reached out to touch my arm gently. "Lena, please just be honest with me." In that moment, a flicker of vulnerability crossed through me, a desire to share everything bubbling just beneath the surface, but fear held me back like chains binding down my heart. "I can't," I admitted finally, my voice barely above a whisper as tears threatened to spill over. "Why not?" "Because if I tell you, then everything changes," I confessed, my heart racing at the thought of revealing even a fraction of what lay hidden within. Sarah stepped back slightly, her expression shifting from concern to hurt, as realization dawned upon her face. "I get it," she said quietly, her voice strained with disappointment mixed with understanding, a painful reminder that sometimes love meant letting go even when it hurt most. Just then, the door swung open unexpectedly, and there stood Mia, her presence filling the room with warmth but also tension as our eyes locked for an instant before shifting away from one another. "What's going on?" Mia asked cautiously, her gaze darting between us as confusion flickered across her features. "Nothing." Sarah replied too quickly, her tone defensive as she turned toward Mia with narrowed eyes, a protective instinct flaring up within her. "Mia," but before I could finish speaking, the air thickened with unresolved tension, a chasm widening between us all as secrets hung heavily in the air like storm clouds ready to burst open at any moment. "I should go," Sarah said finally, her voice strained yet resolute, as she stepped back toward the door without another word, leaving behind silence thick enough to cut through steel. "Mia," but before I could explain anything further, the moment hung suspended in time, a fragile thread connecting us all fraying dangerously close to breaking point amidst chaos swirling around us both. "What was that about?" Mia asked quietly after Sarah left, the weight of unspoken questions lingering heavily between us like shadows creeping closer with each passing second. "It's complicated," I replied slowly, my heart racing at how easily everything felt on the verge of unraveling around us once more, a delicate balance teetering precariously close toward chaos waiting just beyond reach. The days that followed Sarah's unexpected confrontation were a blur of confusion and tension. Mia and I found ourselves caught in a whirlwind of unspoken words and unresolved feelings, the air between us thick with uncertainty. Our once vibrant connection felt strained, overshadowed by the weight of my secrets and the fear of what lay ahead. That I spent countless nights lying awake, replaying the moment Sarah had walked in on us. Her disappointment echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the choices I had made. I had wanted to protect my friendship with her, but in doing so, I had risked losing something far more precious, my connection with Mia. One evening, as I sat alone in my apartment, the silence felt deafening. I could hear the distant sounds of the city outside, but inside, it felt like a storm was brewing, a tempest of emotions threatening to spill over. I picked up my phone, hesitating as I considered reaching out to Mia. But what could I say? How could I bridge the chasm that had formed between us? Just then, my phone buzzed with a message from her. My heart raced as I opened it, reading her words, "Can we talk? Please." I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. This was it, the moment we had both been avoiding. With trembling hands, I typed back a quick response, "Yes." "Where?" "Meet me at the park," she replied almost instantly. As I made my way to the park, memories flooded my mind, our laughter echoing through those cherry blossom trees, the warmth of her hand in mine. But now, everything felt different. The innocence of those moments had been tainted by fear and uncertainty. When I arrived at the park, dusk was settling in, casting a soft glow over everything. Mia was already there, standing beneath one of the trees where we had shared so many beautiful moments together. She looked up as I approached, her expression unreadable. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. That we stood there for a moment in silence, the weight of everything hanging heavily between us. Finally, Mia spoke up. "I've been thinking about us." My heart raced at her words. This was the moment we needed to confront everything that had been left unsaid. "Me too," I admitted. "I don't want to lose you," she said earnestly, stepping closer until there was barely any space left between us. "But we can't keep pretending that everything is okay when it's not." "I know," I replied, feeling tears prick at my eyes. "I've been scared of how much you mean to me and scared of what it all means for my life." Mia reached out and took my hands in hers, grounding me amidst the chaos swirling within. "Lena," she said gently, "you don't have to carry this alone." I didn't want to hurt anyone," I confessed, feeling vulnerability wash over me like waves crashing against rocks on a stormy shore. I didn't want Sarah to feel betrayed or to lose her friendship. "But what about us?" Mia asked softly, her eyes searching mine for answers as if willing me to see how important this was for both of us. "I care about you so much," I said finally, my voice trembling with emotion as clarity began to break through the fog surrounding my heart. "And maybe it's time for me to stop hiding who I am." Her gaze softened as she squeezed my hands gently, a flicker of hope igniting within both of us amidst uncertainty lingering just beyond reach. With newfound determination coursing through me, I took a deep breath and stepped closer until our foreheads touched, a gesture filled with warmth and understanding as our breaths mingled softly in the evening air. "I want you to be part of my life," I whispered finally, my heart racing at how easily those words flowed from my lips like water breaking free from a dam long held back by fear. Mia smiled softly, a radiant light breaking through clouds that had lingered for far too long, and in that moment, it felt like everything shifted into place, like we were finally on the same page, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead together without hesitation or doubt holding us back any longer. "We'll take it one step at a time," she promised softly, her eyes shining brightly as hope blossomed between us once more. A delicate flower pushing through cracks in concrete toward sunlight waiting patiently just beyond reach. As we stood together beneath those cherry blossoms, two souls intertwined amidst uncertainty, I knew that while challenges lay ahead, we would face them together hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever came next with courage and love lighting our way forward into an unknown future filled with possibility.